Hello, everybody. Welcome by a new season of Follow Your Passion podcast, season 2, episode 1. And please welcome a special guest and friend of mine. Her name is Alexandra Badita, but we can call her Alex. She's a journaling and storytelling coach, founder of the first journaling academy in Romania, dedicated to personal and professional growth. Alex is a creator and educator. Her brand is Impressivity by Alexandra, and she's also the podcast host at Live Your Impressivity Show. Sorry, still having troubles with it. With a background in digital marketing and journalism and additional studies in neuropsychology and journal therapy, Alex teaches the art of journaling since 2017. She created the journal Impress Yourself Every Day and published the book Write Your Way to Happiness, and is committed to spreading the word about journaling to entrepreneurs, leaders, and children. Hi, Alex. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, impressivity, is that, did you create that word by yourself?
I could say that, but I don't think it's fair for me to take the credit because I really don't know where it came from. Honestly, This was something that I was searching back in 2014 when I started my first blog. And I was just trying to brainstorm some ideas for a new name for my blog. And I just wanted it to be something unique. And I used to keep a journal next to my bed. And one night I just woke up, I wrote down this name, Impressivity, and I went back to sleep. And then in the morning, I looked what I wrote and it was like, oh, I don't know this word. Let me look it up. And it didn't exist. So I don't know where it came from.
Nice. So what does it stand for, Alex?
Well, it has evolved through time because at first, given that it was part of my blog and it was the name of the personal blog that I started, it was about sharing my impressions. It was about talking on how to make an impression and how to have that opinion, have that impression that one can express in the world. And through time, I understood that many people try to make an impression to others, whereas part of my mission now is to support people in understanding that it's all about impressing ourselves first. So this is why right now, impressivity is about discovering our core essence and understanding that it's all about impressing ourselves. And it's, being that proud, self-love, and self-compassionate with ourselves every single day.
Nice. So, Alex, share with us, how did you come to start journaling yourself? When did it start? Already at an early age, or?
Yeah, I used to keep a diary since I was 8 years old, but obviously it didn't have any therapeutic effects back then because I had no idea, it was just putting down what I would be eating during the day or the children that I was playing with. It was just narration of the day. And then, of course, in high school, it started to become a little bit more deep and kind of, writing all my frustrations and what I was going through with my parents or in high school and things like this. All the teenagers' troubles. And then it was, always part of me to kind of keep a piece of writing, whether it was in my journal or on my blog. Then in 2015, when I was going through a time of anxiety attacks, panic attacks, I ended up going to therapy, and my therapist suggested to monitor my thoughts and my emotions from one session to another and to write down in my journal how I was feeling. And that was actually when I understood that journaling in itself is therapeutic and it has so many benefits, because after about a month or so, I kind of started to understand again who is Alex, what does Alex like, because, it had created this separation from myself that I just didn't know anymore where my individuality stands. And for me, writing down in my journal, it became the place where I started to meet again that woman inside of me, and that human being inside of me. So it was really interesting to kind of discover that in therapy. And then, once it became so healing and so powerful for me, it just stayed in my life. And I really, really wanted to pass it on and to share it with other people because it's just amazing.
Nice, nice. And how did you end up becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, I had no idea what entrepreneurship is about. I didn't have any models in my family or around me. So it was more about, moving to London. And I lived in London for 3 years. And when I was there, just being part of that world with personal development and a lot of people in coaching and therapy, and understanding what that is all about and how I can be more of service to the world and how I can share more about these gifts and all of these informations that I was gathering for myself. That's when I started to kind of understand, okay, so I need to be an entrepreneur in order to do this. And at first I started just with part-time because I was still working in a digital marketing agency in London. And it was just, kind of trying to figure out what this world of business means. And then when I decided to take that leap of faith and actually just quit my job in London, I moved back to Romania. And that's where the actual entrepreneurship journey started.
Yeah, nice, nice. And now thinking about it, a lot of people don't understand the impact of journaling. I would almost say, they think what you said. You started out in diary when you were little, and I think a lot of people still have that perception about journaling. It's like keeping a diary. And it just came to my mind that a lot of people think they're not doing it, but if you currently look at Facebook, a lot of people are journaling on Facebook, what they eat, what they're struggling with. So it's almost like people do it without realizing it. So how would you explain, and I love that about what you post as well on LinkedIn and stuff like that, to use journaling effectively, also in business. How did you come to that, to use it effectively in a business wise?
Yeah, I first want to mention, what you said about the differentiating the terms and the concepts of diary and journal. And thank you for raising that, because it's really important. And many people confuse these two concepts, because writing in a diary, yes, it's that first level where we just write down what we eat, what we do during the day, the activities that we do. It's very surface level, and it's not really going in the depth of emotions or self-awareness and things like this. So that's very great start for someone who doesn't want to go deep and is not ready. And it's really good for starting also for children, because that's where, they begin to get familiarized with writing. But journaling in itself is going into something more deep. And that's why we kind of also use the similar terms of expressive writing or therapeutic writing or journal therapy, because journaling is more about the emotions. It's more about going beyond the activities and the actions, and more on thoughts and feelings and understanding the inner world a little bit more. And I think it's important for people to kind of understand, because it's a very simple technique, but at the same time, it's not easy, because it does require a little bit of courage to go into that darkness, inside of us. And many people are just afraid, even when they see a blank sheet of paper, and they feel confused. They don't know where to start. And that's where my role comes in, with guiding questions and kind of helping them to navigate that road inside. And that's, part of the beginnings, the first steps into journaling. With business journaling, it's also very important to kind of understand where we want to go with it. You know, we can use business journaling for many purposes, and of course the intention will be different between personal journaling and business journaling. But when it comes to using a journal for leadership, there are so many ways in which we can benefit from it. For instance, we already know that emotional intelligence is one of the top skills that a leader needs in today's world. So by analyzing, you know, the emotions that we go through during the day, the emotions that come up when we have to make a decision, the way that we kind of navigate through the business plan or the day of the business, what we do, you know, the work day, what activities do we have and how we feel about each of those activities. Maybe some of them we feel resentful, some of them get us excited. So we kind of look at that and understand what is our core passion, our core genius, and we focus more on that, how we can be more into that space and delegate the rest of the activities. There's also, you know, a lot of benefits in using, for instance, a journal for networking and kind of taking notes for the people that we meet throughout the day, you know, how we feel about that, what kind of energy we exchanged during the conversation, and understanding how we want that to evolve, whether it's, you know, a partnership that we might want to set up, or collaboration, or we want to recommend that person to someone else, or maybe we just felt that something was off and there's nothing we can do there, you know, and that's perfectly fine. It's really just bringing that extra level of awareness into the business and into the leadership style in order to thrive and be better.
Nice. And it made me also wonder that if you use it effectively in your business, is there also a system on how to journal? Because if you just put all your thoughts in out of your mind onto paper or digital paper or wherever you want to journal in, you know, it can be just a chronological information, and it's hard to retrieve it again, you know. So do you also have different systems on how to journal?
Yeah, it all starts with intention. You know, I always like to emphasize this, you know, in journaling, whether it's personal or business, we want to start with an intention, because otherwise, if we just sit down and write, then, you know, we don't know where it ends up, and it might just be a diary log. But with journaling, we want to see results. And in order to be able to measure the results and evaluate the progress of our journaling sessions, we need to have a clear intention. Why are we doing this? What do we want to get out of this? Do I want to get to know myself better and my emotions? Do I want to set different goals and kind of plan for something that I want to achieve? Do I want to document a certain project? What is it that I want to do with my journaling? And then based on that, we create a structure and we kind of write down, for instance, the types of stages that we go through, the milestones that we hit and things like this. But it all starts with the intention and then getting to a result and evaluating all these small objectives throughout throughout time and seeing how we're hitting different goals. For instance, one of the business journals that I use is about launching a new product. So having a journal that says, you know, how am I going to launch this product? It means dividing the journal into different sections, like research, marketing, branding, platforms, content creation, and all of these steps. And then I kind of allocate a set of pages for each of these stage and for this each category, and I label it. I use, you know, different labels or colored paper for doing that, and I keep, you know, at the beginning of the journal contents page, and then I know, you know, each color represents a stage of my project. So I go there and I write down, and then I have documented the whole process of launching a product. And then at the end of it, I write down, what did I learn from it? what do I want to improve next time? And of course, what is it that I need to switch or change the next time? So it's really important to kind of use this for our benefit and also take time for that reflective moment at the end of reaching our result, because the intention was to launch a product, we had the result, we launched it, and then because we had that documented, we can also draw the lessons and understand what we can do better next time.
Nice. And I already knew a lot of benefits of journaling, but hearing you talk about it, being the expert, there's so much more behind it that people don't even realize that. Wonderful. And in fact, I know as a mindset expert that our mind doesn't like open endings, right? So it will try to keep all information in your mind, which can be overwhelming. But the moment you put it out of your head, out of your mind, onto paper or digital paper, whatever you want, in a journal, you're creating additional space in your mind to come up with new and creative ideas. So that's also a benefit that people don't realize.
Yes, and just like you said, because our mind is continuously curious and wants to solve anything, find answers to all the questions. That's why it's kind of important to have that clear intention and say, okay, this is my question and I want to find out what is behind it. And with writing, we kind of get that practice and that exercise of just going deeper and deeper and maybe finding things that we didn't even expect, because if we just keep it in our mind, we don't have the necessary space to kind of analyze all of the aspects. So yeah, absolutely, it's exactly. A beautiful way.
Yeah. I actually, now thinking about it, I also use with my clients, that sometimes I give them as homework to write up 3 things that they're proud of, and it can be small things like brushing your teeth, getting dressed, having breakfast, or whatever, can do every day. They can do the same or think of different things. And the only reason or my intention is that they get a positive mindset. Writing things you're proud of, it builds your self-confidence without realizing it. But it's also a very small form of journaling, of course, but it's also helpful, and you hear a lot of people, successful people, that you should write down 3 things you're grateful of, just close the end of the day, write up 3 things that you're grateful of, that you're proud of, maybe review the day, whatever. But that's also journaling as well, but people don't realize it.
Yeah, it is. And actually the gratitude practice is absolutely magical, because it gives you, like you said, that positive mindset. And whether you do it at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, it really creates a very good space for our mind. And whenever I work with people who are a little bit resistant to journaling, I always encourage them just to start with gratitude, because it has been proven, even from a neuroscientific perspective, that our brain loves that boost of gratitude, because it also helps rewire our neurons, and it helps us to be a little bit more attentive to the positive side of things, and it kind of helps us to see the silver lining in things. It doesn't mean that we're ignoring what is happening around us, but we're a little bit more inclined to finding solutions rather than focusing just on finding problems. And I think it's really important to kind of start with this practice of gratitude. And even if we start small, like you said, with 3 reasons that we're proud of, or 3 reasons that we're grateful for, it really makes a difference. And it all, the secret is in consistency, having this practice every day. And it has been also proven with studies that we kind of need to practice for at least 21 days so that our brain starts to get rewired. And all we need is 20 seconds of connecting our feelings of gratitude to what we're writing. Like when we're writing 3 things that we're grateful for, if we also kind of feel that gratitude and visualize that reason, then that's it. 1 minute of gratitude and we're instantly in a different type of energy.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at your current clientele, do you think that Do you have more female or male clients?
It is more female inclined, and I'm always very happy to welcome men into my programs. I think, however, they are a little bit more reluctant. They do participate in different programs that I have, but they're a little bit more quiet. They don't necessarily engage and speak out loud about what they're writing or their intentions. However, I do think it's just the society stigma about, oh, if I write in a diary, it looks like I'm a teenage girl, and I think it's time to kind of help everyone understand that it doesn't have to do with that part of our perception of writing in a diary. On the contrary, there are so many great leaders and top leaders of the world who use journaling because of these benefits, like Barack Obama, Richard Branson, Tim Ferriss. They're big advocates of journaling. And I think it's important to look at how they set the example for keeping a journal, for clarifying our mind, for actually making that space, like you were also saying, that we need to have that space to make good decisions, to kind of release everything that we keep inside of our brain. And our brain gets exhausted, and we want to just release it onto paper and be sure that we see things from different perspectives. And there is also a book from James Pennebaker with Words That Heal. And he also kind of analyzes how when we start writing about a specific situation or experience, we start seeing it from different perspectives. Like at first, we focus on the external factors, and we kind of take that blame, or we want to see how other people did things wrong. Whereas if as we write about it, then we turn towards ourselves and we kind of start to take responsibility. We take accountability for things, and we start to see, that it's actually a balance. And I think it's really important to kind of have that courage again to go that deeper into our inner world and understand ourselves. And this also leads to getting better at being a good leader and running a business and thriving in that business. Because, a lot of people use the excuse of, I don't have time. And like I said, it's just an excuse. And if Barack Obama and all of those top leaders have the time to write in a journal, then we know that by writing down for 5 minutes, we actually gain a lot more time throughout the day.
Yeah. It reminds me of a saying I recently read, that in order to have peace of mind, you should meditate for 1 hour each day. Unless you're very busy, then you need to meditate for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The reason I ask, because women are in general more in connection with their feelings and emotions. So journaling and going deep on emotional level and emotional intelligence as well I think it's easier for women to do that. It's more natural for them. So I would say that men would benefit more from your guidance, because connecting with your emotions and feelings, that's there's still a lot of presuppositions, of course, in stigmas, what you said. So if men truly understand how to connect with the emotions and how certain decisions influence them on that level, then they will get much more clarity about their own actions and decisions. So they would it's my opinion that they would benefit even more from your guidance in using journaling effectively.
Yeah, I think, it's a matter of understanding that actually all decision making is emotional based, and being more aware of that will only help everyone, and men, especially in leadership positions, to be more aware of how they're making a decision, because I hear men all the time when I speak with men who are in corporate or entrepreneurs. They talk about, oh, but I'm really rational and I make the decisions, I write them down. And there's always a level of emotion that comes in, and even if you're not aware of it, that it still influences the decision making process. So by journaling, it's just becoming aware of that. But I know that it takes time to get to that level of helping them understand how important it is.
Yeah, definitely. When I talk about the mindset as well, I always separate the brain in three parts. You got the reptilian brain, which is all about survival. You got your animal brain, which is about feelings and emotions. And you got your human brain, which is more about structuring, logics, and stuff like that, right? And all decisions we make are based on the animal brain, so feelings and emotions. And we're using our human brain to validate the decision we've made. And once you realize that, it makes sense, but men don't want to accept it most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's a journey, and we can only keep doing this process of informing people and kind of letting them know this is what's happening. And I think that for everyone, there is that moment in time when something just clicks, and after they hear the same over and over again, they say, oh, actually now I realize that it is an emotion, and I am actually making the decision from a different space, and not just from the pros and cons that I listed here. So yeah, I think it's just, for everyone it's different, but there comes a time when when everyone will just realize actually there is more to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I just realized I can't think of the writer's name, but you've got this book, Getting Things Done. I'm not sure if you heard of it. But it's also where you, I would say that almost a summary is getting things out of your head into a system, and systemizing things. So journaling would be a very good tool to systemize those steps indeed. So, one thing that I also admire is that you're also guiding and training children in using journaling, right?
Yes. I started with a project with another co-founder, journaling in schools, back in 2020. And it was really fascinating to see how this practice of journaling actually helps children go into their emotional intelligence and understanding their emotions. Like I said, when I first started journaling, it was just very pragmatic and just writing about the activities that I was doing. And that was perfectly fine, and I still encourage children to start just with that at first. But then having the guidance to kind of understand, okay, what are emotions and how do I feel in each moment? And understanding that there is a vocabulary of emotions. There is a wide spectrum of emotions where we can really express and label our emotions, and that everything that we feel is valid, and making those connections. And after working for 1 year, after the first year of working with children who were aged 12, 13, they started to write down in their journal. I became more aware of, when I feel shy or when I feel stressed, and just coming to share those things from their level of awareness was just fabulous, because there are many adults who don't have that level of awareness. But it just shows that with practice and having the openness to understand what it is and what emotions are and how they influence us, then we can get to that place of, okay, now I'm aware that this happens. And what's fascinating, of course, is that children are always more curious, and they're always asking questions. They're just, very eager to learn more and more. And when they find something or a technique or an exercise that they really love, they just go with that one. And they go and create it and then rewrite it, and then they create stories. And it also helps them to be more creative with the way that they write. They write about themselves, then they write about for instance, a character that has those emotions as well. And it's just very fascinating to see how they expand on one exercise, and it helps them to just become better at, even at storytelling or, writing for anything, any type of assignment. So yeah, it's really fascinating, and I love working with children as well.
Yeah, they're wonderful. And I always say that also to my clients and adults as well, that there's no such thing as a stupid question. The only stupid question that exists is the one you didn't ask. There are a lot of stupid answers, that don't pin me on that one, but stupid questions don't exist. If you don't understand something, that means that I didn't explain it in a way that you didn't understand it. So I just have to find other words to explain it so you will understand. And
Yeah.
children, if you tell it to children, then it's like a waterfall of questions that comes out of them, and that's wonderful. And it's what you said, they're open-minded, they're curious, they don't have any presuppositions, they want to learn and they want to grow and develop it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think we have so much to learn from children, and it's just fascinating for me to see how they're always, in workshops when I have different sessions with children, they are just so playful and they're curious. And I think, if somehow we can also as adults connect to that inner child that we have and be playful and be creative, be open-minded, then we can also learn better, because it helps us to get out of that judgmental space and having all of those, oh, but I don't have to do this, or I don't like this, I someone made me be here. And all of those perceptions that we have just block us from being open to receiving the information. Whereas for children, they're just happy. They find ways to be playful, to be happy with what they're doing. So yeah, I think there's so much to learn from them.
Nice. So how did this project evolve from 2020 on? Because we're already 2 years in the program, so to speak.
Yeah, so throughout this time, we created 2 journals for children with different exercises. And also we had, at the beginning of this year, we had the first International Summit Journaling in Education, where we had speakers from 8 countries, and they shared different techniques that teachers and parents can use with journaling, and different games for engaging kids in writing, in connecting to their emotions, in getting over different situations like bullying, or being in touch with really what's going on based on their age and how they're perceiving all of that. And it was a very successful summit, and now we're already preparing for the second edition in 2023, which is going to be more focused on journaling for the brain and how neuroscience comes into play when children write. Of course, it also applies for adults. When we write, it just lights up our brain and our neurons.
Yeah. So the 2 journals you created for kids, are they age specific, or?
I mean, we had them used for children between the age of 8, 9 years old up to 16, 17. Because they are very different questions, and some of them are games, or they can draw, they can color. We wanted to cover a lot of these ages, just because children can be very different as well. And some of them, even in very, very small ages, when they just started to learn how to write, they were very happy to just write down a few words about emotions, or, a few sentences, and then draw different emotions and how it feels for them, how they perceive it, what color it has. And it's still a great exercise because it helps them understand this part of themselves. And honestly, I wish that I had this kind of understanding and someone teach me about emotions when I was their age.
Yeah. Wonderful. So do you have any inspirational stories of a client that you guided, that you coached on journaling, that comes to mind?
I mean, there are so many, from depending on the intention that they had. But for instance, there are a couple of stories that come to my mind right now. One of them is about journaling for healing. And, I had different clients throughout time who were facing health challenges, going through different scary diagnoses, and kind of having to deal with the emotions, the turmoil of emotions that comes up with that, and using journaling to face that, to help them navigate all of the process, and without getting overwhelmed, because of course it's a lot for them, for the family, for everyone to go through that type of process. And journaling helped them to make peace and to free their negative perceptions and change their mindset, kind of rewrite that perception about what could happen. And instead of focusing on a negative outcome, they would always reframe that into a positive mindset. And whenever I get that kind of feedback, it's really fascinating to see how it helps them. And especially when they overcome that health issue and they become healthy and they realize how much of a difference journaling made in their life. Another example is actually right now I'm running a program with over 100 participants where they set an intention, and then I guide them with different questions to reflect upon, to see how they can accomplish their goal. And it's really fascinating to see how when they write that intention, they understand their limiting beliefs. They kind of make room in their mind to focus just on that intention. They start seeing the results, and different opportunities start to come in. There's an abundance of gifts or different things that show up in their life simply because their energy is channeled towards that intention. And I just had the other day someone who messaged me, and they said, I actually received dishwashing machine for free because I really wanted to, my intention was to have more free time, and I didn't know how that was going to happen. And actually I received as a gift a dishwashing machine, which frees my time. And that was just fascinating.
Nice.
How things work. You never know, you don't question the ways in which you will get that result, but you're just in that space of receiving, and you focus on your intention, make different realizations, and you write down about what has been blocking you so far, and things start to appear because you kind of cleared away, and your brain is just looking at that intention. There's that saying, where intention goes, energy flows. So just having that intention very clear in mind really helps to gather all of that energy and channel it towards the outcome.
Nice. So I'm wondering when the cleaning lady or cleaning man will ring my doorbell. Well, listening to you also made me realize that by putting things out of your head onto paper, then you're also creating this helicopter view for yourself, right? As a moment of thought keeps into your mind, it keeps you occupied, it keeps you busy. But the moment you put it on paper and you look at it, you're actually unconsciously creating this helicopter view so you can reflect on it and see different angles and views. So I think that's a very huge benefit of journaling indeed.
Yes, we kind of see it from a different perspective. We step back, we don't keep it inside of us where we're just very attached to it, but we kind of write it down onto paper, and we can even, look at it as if we were just spectators and observe what happens. I always encourage people who participate in my workshops and programs to just be very curious and to stay in that space of mind of observing what comes up without judgment, and really just monitoring the emotions, the thoughts, and kind of looking at it from new perspectives, new angles. And it's really interesting to see how we start seeing solutions when we kind of just take that step back. Whereas if we keep it in our mind, the danger is that we just ruminate it, we just put it on all sides, we just look at the same problem from the same lens. Whereas by putting it on the paper is just out there. We start changing, the way that we look at it. We might find different solutions. We might get creative at finding solutions, which is also something that we can apply in business. Kind of looking at something from different perspectives and being creative, bringing innovation into that, because we can be more detached from it. So yeah, for sure, it really changes the way that we can solve a situation.
Nice. Alex, I'm afraid we can talk hours about this subject, and it's clear that you're a true expert in the subject matter. If you could share just a little piece of wisdom or a little tip with the audience, what would it be?
I would say, just give writing a try, because I know that there are so many people out there who are reluctant to writing, who are hearing about journaling, and they might feel like, oh, this is not for me. And the first thing that I want to encourage you is just to give it a try. If you haven't tried it before, don't put it aside just because you don't like the sound of it, or because it makes you, kind of associate writing in a journal with a diary. Just see what it does for you. Try it for, 21 days is usually a good amount of time to try a new habit, and see what it brings for you. And then you can say for real, I don't like it. It's not for me. It doesn't bring any results for me. And then that's perfect. It may not be for you. But if you don't try it, just don't dismiss it just like that. Give it a try.
Yeah, exactly. So, Alex, if people want to know more about you, get in touch with you, or maybe even purchase one of the journals from you, how can you do that?
I'm pretty much everywhere over social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Alexandra Badita, or on my website, alexbadita.com, Facebook, YouTube, my podcast on Spotify, on Instagram, Impressivity by Alexandra. So yeah, anywhere that is comfortable for you, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions or to connect with you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Alex, for this wonderful conversation. Very inspirational. You shared a lot of wisdom. I hope the listeners will definitely use some of those things, and not only use, but truly implement it, because it will make a difference. Thanks a lot, Alex, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much for having me, Ervin.